We have to take notice of LSU football this time of year for the first time in a few seasons. We got Matt Muscuna on the line from ESPN Radio, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Central. Matt, it's always good to see you, man.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for the invite as always, man.
Well, if you follow college football long enough, you understand that LSU shouldn't necessarily take much of a hit for going to Fayetteville on a lazy, cold, saw the ice, hanging from the goalposts earlier in the day, 11 a.m. Central Time start. This is what happens to young men that are coming off the historic high of where they were coming from, but they made it through. That's the important thing, that it was 13 for LSU and 10 for Arkansas at the end of the game.
I think you were alluding to the historical perspective as well. That's just this series, man. I don't necessarily see it as an excuse, but it's more of an explanation. This is a game that has always meant more to Arkansas. They see it as a rivalry, the silly boot trophy. They came into the league in '92 and they stuck LSU with Arkansas and that stupid 1:30 Friday kickoff on Black Friday, and LSU resented it forever. And it's just a thing where it's always meant more to one side than the other. But LSU's got to, I've been saying this for years, Mark, for decades, literally. LSU's got to flush that. You got to forget about that because the other side wants to play, and when Arkansas is good, they'll pop you. And Arkansas's not having a great year, but they almost clipped LSU on Saturday in a game that shouldn't have been as close as it was. But I think you're right. The point for LSU is, as great Jim Valvano said, survive in advance, and that's what LSU did Saturday in Fayetteville.
I'm chuckling over here, Matt, because you're making statements that I've heard out of other people before from an LSU perspective, but maybe not to the degree that I really got it, that, this is not what we wanted to be paired with this other school, as they're the new entry into the SEC, and they're suddenly forced to be our rivalry on Thanksgiving weekend. For an outsider, I always thought, oh, it's cool. Arkansas and LSU play on the Friday after Thanksgiving. So,
hey, man, do you know in this part of the country how much people celebrate and party and everything? It's just part of our culture. So the day after Thanksgiving, to play a football game at 1:30 in the afternoon, there is nobody alive who wanted to ever see that. But Arkansas saw it as they're sort of attached at the hip when they came into the league, when they were the newbie. And LSU resented it. And you know what's sort of an odd full circle here? When Missouri came into the league, they've now paired Arkansas and Missouri in that Friday after Thanksgiving 1:30 game. They have the stupid battle line trophy that it's dumb. And Arkansas fans resent it, and the game means more to Missouri. And so many times Missouri challenges Arkansas when they have no business to, put the shoes on the other foot. And I try to explain to Arkansas fans, okay, how you feel about Missouri, that's how LSU felt about you, but LSU had a half century more equity built up in this conference already when they got saddled with you. So I think they're starting to maybe get it a little bit, or maybe not, because fans are fans.
Is it just so obvious, or am I wrong that Missouri is just clearly the school that's hanging off the edge of the SEC, both geographically and just literally, and just saying, we are part of this conference?
Vanderbilt's still there too, bro.
They are, but Vanderbilt's
inaugural member, but 26-game losing streak, man. No, look, if it snows at your school on the reg, you probably don't belong in the SEC. So Missouri probably a better fit in the Big Ten, no doubt. And the odd thing too, Mark, is when Missouri came into the league, everybody thought, okay, Missouri and A&M coming in, Missouri will be great for basketball. A&M should be good for football. And the exact opposite happened. Remember, Gary Pinkel came in. They won the East the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And, in A&M, I guess they had Manziel there at the beginning, but they really face-planted. Missouri's basketball team has stunk. So kind of odd. A little bit of a tangent there. But anyway, yes, Missouri's an odd fit.
And, of course, they put them in the East. So, right. And that had to be done, but I get it. So back to the LSU front here. Maybe they don't win the game without – and from watching football, everybody's hyper-focused on offense, and offensive guys stand out. So to be a standout on defense, to take over a game and be the guy that jumps off the screen, you really have to be amazing. And that was Harold Perkins again on Saturday.
And he's been that guy pretty consistently this year. But the country's just starting to see it. It's whenever you around these parts, if you mention the name Tyrann Mathieu, like, you better come correct, because the Honey Badger is deified here. The season he had in 2011, his ability to impact the game in so many ways, you can't just say, "Oh, this guy reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu." Like, you just can't do that around here. That's like taking the Lord's name in vain. You don't do that. But I'll tell you, man, Harold Perkins is. I never thought I'd see a player like Tyrann again, but Harold is as close to that as LSU has seen. And it's incredible because he's doing it as a true freshman. And it's not just that he's athletic and he can run real fast and makes tackles. It's when you need a play, everybody knows you need a play. Everybody's looking at that guy to make the play, and he still makes the play. That's pretty special, man. I've always said, whenever the definition of elite is when you can take the extraordinary and make it feel commonplace. Harold Perkins is doing that right now. That's what Tyrann did, and that's what Harold Perkins is doing right now. It's incredible to watch, man. He did his efforts on Saturday won that game for LSU, and he was incredible spying Bryce Young against Alabama. And you can go back to the Ole Miss game where he did the exact same thing and wrecking that offense. And Lane Kiffin, if you go back and look at it, Mark, Lane Kiffin in his post-game press conference said, what changed? Because Ole Miss got up to a 17-3 start in that game. He was asked in his post-game press conference, what changed? He said, well, they put 40 on the field. I mean, it tilts the field. And the crazy thing, LSU got really blasted at home by Tennessee early October. Harold Perkins played 8 snaps in that game. 8. Now, I'm not saying that if Harold Perkins plays the full game, LSU wins. Please don't misunderstand me. But it's a different game. It's a very different game.
I wasn't aware of that. And I watched that game until it got out of hand and I moved on to other things, but I did not realize that. Wow. I really started to notice him against Auburn. He made some plays in that game that obviously prevented a disaster on the Plains.